Hey, everybody. On this episode of Legends of Tomorrow After Show, we're going to break down the episode. It is like the Legends writers got inside a viewer's head and picked out all those special elements that would make their life complete if they ever saw it all together on a television screen. Unfortunately, that viewer was not me. So we're going to break down Season 4, Episode 11, Seance and Sensibility, next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Woo! Welcome to Legends of Tomorrow After Show. Starting it off with some cold burns.
Ooh,
yes.
the beef is up top.
That's right. We're breaking down every episode of Legends of Tomorrow, airing Monday nights on the CW. I'm Frank Moran.
Hi, I'm Dave Child, everybody. Good to have you here.
Great to have you here.
Oh, this feels so good.
But you know who's not here? Once again, Lex Michael.
What is with him?
He teases us. He
says,
us.
Next week, guys. Next week I'll be there.
Yeah.
Ugh. It's always breaking our hearts.
Yeah, nothing made me sadder than to get that text with him about 45 minutes before we were going to do the show saying, I'm not going to be there tonight, guys.
Yeah, everyone shame. Follow the Lex Michael on Twitter and just shame him.
That's
just say
right.
Shame.
That is correct. But as always, folks, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
And we are watching the chat and seeing you come in. So far, Star Drew is killing it in the chat by saying, Frank, always the grumpy guy. And then also, I think she was the one that said earlier, I feel like this episode was for Dave Child alone with all those sexy, eerie windows. The sexy, eerie windows, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but I do love a good, sexy, eerie window. Maybe the mirrors?
Yeah, so, Dave Child, let's just ask real quick.
Yes.
For you to watch that episode of Legends of Tomorrow.
To read or watch it.
To read, and then to watch it, and then come into the chat and read a statement that, like, this episode feels like it was made for Dave Child alone.
Well, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I believe I said to you that this episode felt like it was one person's dream episode. It felt like it was everything they love. Jane Austen, Bollywood, combine those with a creepy seance, all that stuff, and then they just loved it. It wasn't quite my thing. I liked a lot of the episode, actually. I liked a good, first half of the episode. I felt like it was moving strong. I liked the Jane Austen stuff, and I actually liked the kind of even the stuff with the finding out the Hindu god of love that they're dealing with, and also the seance. I mean, I feel like they had really solid distribution of story and plot. There's just some fandom stuff that's in there, some specific Bollywood stuff that I'm just not familiar with, and so it kind of weirds me out. It kind of gets I'm not the type to when a show that isn't usually a musical bursts out into a musical number, unless it's something that really gets me going. I'm not quite into it, and it didn't hit for me. But
well, I have to admit, in a way, that surprises me because for somebody that is in a dance troupe and and has been in many music videos dancing, that to watch an art form where part of it is celebrating music by dance.
The dancing was great. Dancing was great, and I really loved when we got into it. It just kind of felt like it was oh, fun. This is great. Oh, cool. It's Bollywood. I get it. That's cool. Oh, it's still going. They're still doing it. And I kind of just wanted to move. And also, it's at this point, I don't want to really grump up this episode because the stuff I did like about it. But I felt like they had to, because they had all this fun tricks and everything, they have a hard time finding out when to put the real dramatic stuff. And they end up cramming it into a very quick few minutes, and it doesn't feel earned because they just want to rush to the goofy stuff. And I love the goofy stuff. The goofy stuff is what I come for. I love the it was a parody of Jane Austen. It was a parody of Bollywood. That's actually the stuff I like and that I normally do. I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I like it when they do this stuff because it feels like I brought up before, Batman 66. It's hard to get rid of a bomb, just total goofy stuff. But sometimes because they do that, they end up having a quick scene where it's Zari's being way too harsh and Mona being way too way too open about her feeling. They're just saying subtext. They're turning subtext into text, and they're just rushing through it so that they can get to like the Bollywood number. And that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do like the goofiness of it. I guess what I meant is just like, there's been other episodes that was like an E.T., Back to the Future reference, all the stuff that Star Wars, all the stuff that just like it lined up with my specific fandom, and I loved it. And what I like about this episode is that it is lining up with someone's specific fandom. It's just not mine. But that's okay. That's kind of cool. Because whoever that is, and I'm sure, like, if you're someone who in the chat who loves it, can you, like, tell us that this specifically, like, hit your beats? And I think that's good. I think it's good to do that, to find, like, a weird niche audience sometimes.
And yet, the vibe you put out, at least to our lovely, lovely viewers who are joining us, is that it would be an episode made just for you, Dave.
Right.
There's a question about what you're putting out in the world that people are going like,
I think it's because
I
think it's because the sexy everyone hooking up, and that's the stuff that I kind of liked. I felt like it is for the shippers and everyone just having like all of a sudden it becoming an orgy after a while. I think they kind of know I'm into that stuff, I guess.
Of course, yes.
You know.
So this episode picks up after what we saw at the end of last week's episode. Hank Haywood, tragically double-crossed by his business partner, Neuron, has a soul sucked out of him, and now it is time to say goodbye. And so they're having a wake at Nate's house, or at Hank's house. Nate, the rest of the extended family are all there.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out how to talk about a dad who died. And having like
and for having conflicted feelings about it.
Yeah, which is always interesting to I think it's something that there's a lot of there's a lot of shows right now.
How do you feel about your dad?
That's the best game show. What your conflicting sides of your dad? Pros and cons of a dad who's emotionally abusive.
All right, on this.
But I feel like there's a lot of shows that are dealing with this. I actually think I'm not going to talk about Game of Thrones on this podcast. But
save it for the after show you're on.
But one thing is they're dealing with the same sort of stuff where people, if they have a dad they've had trouble with, how do you feel about the loss of that dad? How do you feel about someone who's always been terrible to you, or you're having a bad time with them and you just had miscommunications with them? How do you share that? And then also finding out he's not the person you think he was. That's great stuff. All the Seance, all the Hank stuff, I pretty much liked.
Okay, we'll get to.
We'll talk about the beef, but like I think we share the beef on this one.
Ooh, I'll be excited.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, all right. I almost feel like I want to write down my beef just to make sure and just to see if our beefs compare when we both serve them up.
Actually, do you want to do that? Do you want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a piece of paper.
Oh, fantastic!
And I'm gonna write on this piece of paper.
This is exciting. There's our little game within the game, guys.
What probably the beef is.
All right,
and
here we go.
I'm gonna see if it shares later, but I won't see what he's writing down. But okay, so we should talk about.
Okay.
Now that you've written it down,
I've written it down right here. There we go.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, what we get here at the reception is, of course, we've got a couple of people. We have Ray kind of figuring out, like, how do I even hang out around Nate? Because it's, my quasi girl that I'm at least interested in.
Yeah,
is
the girl
one
that's been
killing.
crushing killed Nate's dad. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, poor Nora. Even though she didn't, but everybody thinks so.
Yeah, I also love how as soon as she says, "No, I didn't," he's like, "Good,
yeah,
all right," like no question. He doesn't even like doubt her at all.
That's true.
It's a very Ray move.
And then we also have Zari questioning her feelings.
Yeah.
And how she should approach that or not approach it when it comes to Nate.
I have to say I like the Nate Zari stuff. I feel like they've actually figured out how to do it. I was hesitant at first because I was worried it was going to feel like the Ray Hawk Girl thing that was just a conflict that can be like resolved, but it felt like Nate has moved on from his previous relationship.
Yes.
And it feels like Zari is someone new, and if that feels right. and it also brings a lot more. This episode was great because it brought more to Zari, and every time they do have a Zari episode, I love it even more.
I agree with you, but I also, and I think sharing some of your viewpoints, I don't know if I would have loved to have it get a focus that wasn't so maybe Bollywood oriented.
Why?
Just I don't know when it starts the singing.
You just don't like singing.
I don't mind singing. I just if it's good stuff,
it kind of felt corny, right?
it did. And,
And that's the thing that's why I couldn't quite get into it either. I recognize that people are going to love this, and I don't think it's for us, and that's okay. I feel like you can watch something and recognize it's not for us. But it's just Bollywood I always want to get into because I like dancing. I like musicals. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of musicals, and I like dancing and singing. But the stuff that comes out of Bollywood is just so on the nose and so like corny that I have a hard time getting into it. If you know good Bollywood stuff that you think I would get into, please tweet at me. Tweet at MR Dave Child, because I want to find good Bollywood stuff. I want to find something I'll actually enjoy. But this stuff, it feels too corny. It feels like you're watching the worst romantic comedy, but just add bad music on top of it.
And I think maybe that is the difference, because I think I could probably enjoy Bollywood if it had great music and dance numbers. And for here, I thought like some of the group dancing and the choreography was cool. I just don't know if I really dug the music, and if it had been if the song had been different or better or just something to me.
Yeah, the dancing was good though.
Yeah,
I like the dancing.
No, that was impressive to see them pull off on kind of large scale stuff.
I want to put like good beat behind it. But it was good. It was good dancing.
Drop that sick beat.
People in the chat, Ivan, of course, our friend Ivan, says, this I like too. This is a good point. This is kind of off the point, but a lot of people love the Bollywood number. A lot of people agree with you, Frank. And Ivan brings up the fact that he loves that Nate and Ray can say, I love you. We don't see a lot of men do that on shows.
No, I definitely like that. And
that
even
nice.
just
and kiss.
The awkwardness of just like, yeah, I love you. I'm going to just kiss your cheek too, right? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I've my male best friends, I always say I love you to them. Like the ones that are super close to me and I've known for like over 10 years. So
wow.
I'm not going to say it to you. Don't try to get it out of me.
Dave.
You have to earn it, Frank. You have to earn it, Frank.
Dave.
Do you?
I love you, Dave Child.
I feel like it's not earned. I feel like you're forcing it.
I don't have to
You're
force
just
it.
hot girling me right now.
No.
You're just Ray and I'm your hot girl.
I'm just a guy sitting across from a guy wanting to talk about his feelings. Yes. We're doing it.
And then we Bollywood dance.
So, of course, we can't spend too much time in there because we get Nora reaching out to Ray through a mirror.
Through a mirror.
Saying, hey, you know what? It's not me. It's not me. I need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
And then we also have some shenanigans happening back in the Sense and Sensibility time in the early 1800s.
Jane Austen time.
Jane Austen time.
I wrote it down. It was in bed. It was bath.
Yes,
it was in bed, bath, or beyond. It was one of those.
Where we all of a sudden see like, hey, guess what? Something's changed in that time period where all of a sudden now Jane Austen, who is such an enormously cultural influence and successful writer, is no longer in play.
Yeah.
So we got to go back. Have you ever been to Bath?
Never been to Bath.
I've been to Bath once.
I've never taken a bath.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're missing out. You get a nice bath bomb. But Bath was a very cool place.
Cool.
Yeah. And there's a place there called Sally Lunn's Buns. If you're ever there, fantastic cinnamon rolls.
Are you a big Jane Austen fan? Is that why you went?
No, I was just in the UK and I wanted to take a day trip. And a friend of mine, or no, I actually, not a friend, a coworker, had said, hey, you should go to Bath and go to Sally Lunn's Buns. And I was like, I'm down for that.
That sounds cool.
And it was cool. So there you go. But they go to Bath.
They go to Bath. They go to the well, first they run into the coachman, the sexy coachman, and they have that nice little interaction where they suddenly become in a Jane Austen novel.
That's true, because we do find out just momentarily before that, at least on the Wave Rider, they were actually able to figure out that, hey, wait, Sari's got feelings for Nate, thanks to Mona and her acute sense of smell and pheromone sensing abilities that she has.
Yeah, smelling the pheromones. I smell arousal. What does arousal smell like?
I don't know.
I'm guessing cinnamon.
Really?
A little bit of cinnamon. Chartreuse.
Like a red hot. If you were just making like a bunch of red hots.
Red hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, burning with that red hot.
Or like
razzle.
a warm cider.
Oh, that's nice. Really nicely spiced.
Yeah. By the way, I got some recommendations. Thank you, Jenna James,
all right.
for recommending Shock D with I'm mispronouncing all of these with the exclamation point. India Lagan, Rang de Basanti, and Suede's. I don't think it's called Suede's Dave. I think she then says, I recommend this, Dave. But if it's called Suede's Dave, I'm definitely into it.
But a guy named Dave who just loves his suede
He loves
shoes.
his suede. I'm writing these down.
All
Okay.
right. I please at least watch Suede's. I want
At least watch Suede's.
Yes.
At the very least, Suede's.
Only because I wanted you to come back with like, there was a lot less suede in there than I thought there was gonna be.
Yeah. At least I wanted at least a Patrick.
So they head back there and they go to a wedding. And
Yeah.
they see this is a very unconventional wedding because it ends up being like what you always see. Somebody like, stop, I have to admit, I'm in love with somebody else. And I'm in love with my matron.
Scullery maid.
My scullery maid, yes, who was a woman. And of course, the groom is also interested in another woman as well.
It's like they walked into Riverdale.
And and just everybody's just getting it on right there.
Getting it on. It's and that was great. That was the type of stuff that I love, where it's just like, oh, they're not even trying to be realistic. They're trying to do this, and they're diving into it. And then when they find out who the villain was, or who, not the villain, but who the like fugitive was, I was guessing that it was going to be the coachman because I was trying to think of who have we met.
Yes.
But I also love that she's like, oh, who are you? And it's like, oh, I'm Kamadeva, the Hindu god of love. And then instantly she's like, cool, and then makes out with him.
Yeah.
And that was a way for her to trap him, but it was still a nice turn. I really love the beginning of this episode because I just love that reaction of just like, cool, okay, and then make out, and then tie him up, and he's like, I like her, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like cool. I did get a little worried because I remembered what you have to remember where all these fugitives are coming from. They're fugitives from hell. They're fugitives from hell who went to hell in a prison in hell and escaped from there. So I was worried that they put a Hindu god in hell.
Yeah.
And that felt wrong to me. So I was relieved when we found out he was a guy that just was using the Hindu god's powers.
No, that's true.
Because that means like, oh, that's why he's been put in hell, because he's going around using all these powers for no good. So that made me feel better. I feel like they almost like they either forgot the backstory or they tripped over something pretty offensive. and I'm glad they backed out of it.
Like, whoops.
Whoopsies.
So we do discover, yes, that he is using at least the items and articles of the Hindu god of love to be able to kind of spread that.
I believe his cremated body.
Yeah,
Is that what they basically said?
I think so. Yeah, I mean,
Something about like something after a fight with Shiva, I think cremated him or something like that. He's been using the ashes. So when they lick it, I was like, are they licking the ashes?
They're just mainlining that stuff.
I was expecting them to snort it. I thought that was gonna happen, and I was like, this is getting weird. I also loved when he does use his like powers to make everyone have like sex dreams and everything.
Yes.
I love when Zari kind of looks at the camera and goes like, "Oh, this is definitely a dream." That was a nice moment.
Yeah.
I like it when it's meta. I like it when it gets like when it breaks out of the normal kind of CW TV show feel to it. You know?
Well, it was interesting because, of course, Nora stows away on the Wave Rider once everybody's left to kind of go back to the Jane Austen time.
Yeah.
And so Ray says, "All right, hey, you can hang out here and hide away from everybody in my cabin while we sort this all out." And so they end up sharing a bed at first, and then Ray's like, no, this feels weird. But I also like Nora's choice of bed pajamas, which just like the whole like
that wasn't her choice. That was Ray's choice.
yeah, because you're gonna keep it very.
I think Ray was like legitimately trying to give her something that she wouldn't look sexy in.
Just very chaste.
Yeah, was trying to really kind of cock block himself.
Yeah, I do like him hopping in that chair and normally like it's just at
Just
least
falling
pretending.
asleep instantly. I like that.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm gone. But of course, then the desiccated remains of that Hindu god of love
Yeah,
flood in there, and get them all aroused.
Yeah, and I guess that's a dream. Did they actually hook up?
It seems like we find out because it seems like
find out afterwards it's a dream.
Yeah, because it's almost made to seem like, oh, this is really happening.
Yeah.
Which I was curious as to why that didn't become, well, because I guess everybody's sleeping, so that's why.
Well, later, and later they said like, oh, I had a sexy dream about you, and
Yeah.
they said in rhyme because clearly they can't sing.
Yeah. I mean, I assume if you'd been awake while that happened, then you probably would have acted on that. But as they were all sleeping, they just had these dreams.
I kind of like that it wasn't, giving them something, it was forcing them to,
Oh,
do
that's
stuff.
true. Yeah.
They weren't quite giving them a Mickey and hiding him onto the Wave Rider.
It was just merely lowering their inhibitions.
Yeah, and giving them sex dreams is like a whole different thing.
Yeah. There you go.
So.
I
do wish we got a little bit of like, we find out what Charlie's sex dream was David Bowie afterwards, but when we go to each one and they all say like something that says a lot about their character, I think it shows that they need work with Charlie, because it goes to Charlie. It goes like, you get Ava, you get the growl, you get like all this stuff, and you get to kind of see what they're thinking and what they say. And gets to Charlie, and she's like, "Ha ha, that's it. Give us something a bit more. Give us."
I still think that the writers, again, I'll reiterate what I said last week, is that the writers love the actress and yet don't have a really good character for this season.
I also think they have like they like cheeky punk British comedy, and that's kind of coming out of her, but not enough that it's not enough of a character to really like claim it.
Yeah, I mean, because you can be. I mean, Constantine is not.
Constantine's
like
there too, so why do you need that?
Yeah.
Like we needed something else.
You have your cheeky guy already.
You have your cheeky British punk guy. Like, you don't need another one.
Side tangent there for Constantine and just his cheekiness.
Yeah.
Of course, we know we're on a TV show, and Constantine known for smoking as a character in the comic books. But always the deal here when we see him on the show that
I feel like we have seen him smoke before.
I know we've seen him put out a cigarette. I don't know if we ever got a chance to see him light one up, but it's become like a real big running gag for a lot of the season where he puts it in, he's about to go, and then Sarah just takes it and chucks it.
I don't mind it. I don't mind that personally. I think it's a good way of winking at the camera. Like having like, okay, we obviously can't see him smoke that much, but we're establishing that's still part of his character. I like it. That's the type of stuff I like.
But you see it almost every episode. And does that become does it diminish the bit?
It doesn't diminish to me. It's just like, and that's the running thing. It's not like this time I was like, oh, come on. They don't make a meal out of it. They just do a little like, boom.
They don't just, yeah.
They don't go like, hey, what have I told you about smoking in the Wave Rider? These are all the reasons. You don't quite get that.
I would like for the next episode just to be breaking that down. Why there's
breaking down the
no smoking policy. Yep, on the Wave Rider. Why it's in place.
Can you vape? Can you vape? Can you vape through time? That's what I want to know.
What would you think if you saw Constantine and said, like, all right, I'll start something new,
vaping?
Sarah, and he starts vaping? Would you think so much less of him?
Yes. Vaping looks a lot less cool than smoking. I'm sorry, kids. It's just true.
What if he starts, when he's casting these spells, he's doing it with vape?
And he does all those tricks.
Yes.
He's doing like the dragon and the like... and the little circles and stuff. It's like, oh, he has the Doctor Strange hands, but using vape smoke. Perfect.
Folks, before we get to our next topic, we just want to say a quick thank you for watching us here on AfterBuzz and helping us become the ESPN at TV Talk. I know Dave and I really appreciate you folks watching us every single week.
We love you for it.
Yeah, we absolutely.
I love you.
And there's so many other shows that perform here, or that broadcast here, covering many of your favorite TV shows, breaking down movies on Popcorn Talk. Book Circle Online, if you love books, we've got that as well. BHL, if you love the programming there. But we're also asking for a little bit of help. So wherever you're watching, whether it's watching us streaming on YouTube or you're listening to us on iTunes as a podcast.
Perhaps you're in Bath, England, or simply in the bath.
Absolutely. No matter where you are, get involved in the conversation. Like us on, like and subscribe to us on the YouTube. Give us those 5-star ratings on iTunes, and leave a comment, because I know Dave Child eating it up right here. Be able to see this stuff in the chat.
I'm loving it. Jenna James says they felt like they were trying supernatural American Gods type stuff this episode. I think that's true. It did remind me a lot about Supernatural, And I think just I was getting American Gods vibes too, but I think that's because the Hindu god, the Kamadeva, felt like the Jinn from the first season of American Gods. Who I think he's in the second season, but I haven't caught up yet on that.
See, those are the kind of comments that you can leave and get involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
So, folks, continue to enjoy all our shows and letting us do what we love. Thanks so much.
We love you.
Absolutely. So we see, of course, as Nate's trying to figure out what he's going to say to his dad, that Constantine, his spidey senses are tingling, or his spooky senses, I should say.
Spooky sense.
And he realizes, like, hey, there seems to be a lot of kind of energy around here. I don't think everything's at rest. I think our boy Hank is still around here,
Haunting him.
Yeah.
Now, were you surprised they weren't able to get Hank back alive?
I am. Given like what we talked about last week, I really thought that Hank would get brought back to life.
Come back.
Yeah. Or at least he would be held in some kind of stasis or something.
I was kind of hoping they were going to get a ghost Hank as part of the team.
I know we talked about that.
Yeah.
But it just seems by the end of this episode, it doesn't seem to be.
Yeah.
Which is kind of disappointing. I mean, especially given how much the writers had praised how they loved Tom Wilson.
I guess it's because, like, we just don't want to make him a bad guy. We want to make him...
If that's the case, then you'd rather just kill him off?
Yeah.
I don't know what that gains you. Other than, like, one, like, small emotional beat with Nate. But then what does it gain you for the rest of the remainder of the season?
Maybe he'll still come back as a ghost. That's the only thing I could think of. But it kind of feels like this was his last, like, let me tell Constantine what's going on, and then I'm going to go.
If this was indeed the last time that you see Hank Haywood, Tom Wilson, are you satisfied with this ending?
No, I'm not. But at the same time, it's a time traveling show. Who knows? This could be something where like they redo something, comes back from it's a time traveling show involving spooky doings. So like anything can bring him back, and it might not be the end of him.
I would hope not, especially given if they loved him so much, they would want him around. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But of course, we get to find this this hot. I'm gonna just get to it now. My beef.
Oh, do you want to find out? Do we want to say what the beefs
yes.
are?
All right.
Okay. We're gonna talk about our beef, and I think we're gonna be safe. Can we show at the same time?
All right. Here we go.
Beefs are 1, 2, 3. Haywood. We both wrote down Haywood.
There you go. Haywood.
Hey, I knew we were gonna share this because, like, I think it's because I'm curious if I would feel the same if you didn't tell me that about the whole like them trying to make him better and make him like a good guy. It felt really just shoehorned in.
It did.
It felt like he's been trying to build a Disneyland with these mythical creatures the entire time. That was his plan. What?
This seemed bonkers to me. And it starts off at the beginning where Nate's mom asks Nate to say something nice about Hank. And he's struggling because he's been having this conflicting feelings about what he thinks his dad has been involved in, as opposed to the dad he was starting to get to know better once he started being with the Time Bureau. So he kind of passes the buck and says, oh, yeah, he was a workaholic. And so then Nate's mom gets up and shares this story about
him disguising himself as Mickey Mouse.
Yes.
Which I actually liked. Even I actually thought that was like a nice story. It actually reminded me of some of the stories I would hear after my own dad passed away. Ooh, serious. But we would find out stuff about that, like, little tricks that he would do that we didn't know about, and you would find out different stuff about your dad. So that really hit home for me. But, when I found my dad's secret lair after he died, it didn't look like that. And he had a whole different theme park plan. And it was very dark. It turns out, and, all those bodies I found. That's a whole other thing, though.
Oh, man.
But
we're sticking on this time. Scratch the rest of the show. We're diving in.
No. We don't have to talk about it.
What did you see? So there you go. So he goes down and he pulls a Disneyland book back and he says that, oh my gosh, it activates a sticker panel.
Yeah.
And he goes into what looks like, a nice, like, warm family Brady Bunch-esque kind of basement. and he sees a camcorder there, and he plays it, and on the screen comes our boy Hank Haywood.
Hey, world!
This was
First
so
thing he says, "Hey,
bonkers.
world!" And he's doing this weird, and then he announces that he's based off a childhood drawing Nate drew, and I guess it's supposed to feel like, oh, we always thought of Nate. It just felt really out of nowhere. It felt like they really forced it in. If they had set up something before, he was always. It felt like they were writing a guy who's just a workaholic job guy, and he wasn't gathering mythical creatures in order to do this. Like, what?
No way. No way. At least it didn't it say that the real reason is that based off the childhood drawing of his son, he wanted to build a theme park that could bring the world together.
But also, like, what made more sense, what was even weirder is we just heard in the previous scene, he told Constantine, oh, I got tricked into doing this because it was just never-ending funding. I was able to do whatever I want with, like, a time-traveling bureau as long as I brought in mythical creatures. So that felt a good enough reason for him to be focused on these, like, and bringing together this mythical creatures to put on, but really, he had his own plans for those mythical creatures. And it was his own Disney World.
But what was he going to train them to do? I would have loved to have just seen any of, if Hank had videos of him trying to train or instructing people how he wanted to train them. I want you to train them so as guests come into the park.
Can they not eat children? That's the one thing I want to make sure that they don't eat children. Also, it would be a horrific park because it would be a zoo, but mythical creatures. It would be like a tied up unicorn that people are looking at. It wouldn't be. The beauty about Disneyland and Disney World is everything is fabricated. If you put real living creatures in there, it becomes a zoo, and sometimes zoos are sad. So,
but I also feel like if I were Nate and I saw that and my father saying that this was his plan all along, I would, after that video had stopped, I would legitimately say, my dad is insane. Who is this guy? What is going on? This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
For Nate to go like, oh, man.
Oh, he really was a good guy. Oh, man, yeah. It was just like, oh, my. He was doing drugs. He was doing a lot of drugs. That's what he found.
It was such a weird, unnecessary revelation that it's like, please don't show me this.
Yeah. I also have a question about why, after all these years, Nate still has a poster that just says Miami Beach in his bedroom. Just says Miami Beach with a sexy lady, because that's Nate. He loves sexy ladies and Miami Beach.
That's all he needs. That's all he needs. I really would have loved to see what Hank's pitch was going to be. So he's training all these people, but then at some point he's going to have to show this this business model to maybe potential investors or at least the public. What were you? I just do not see at all any of this coming to.
Hey, like, man, why were you just don't have the vision. He was going to bring this on Shark Tank. He was going to say, "Hey, sharks,
here's my
listen
copay.
to this." Yeah, have you heard of a copay? Let me tell you what a copay is. We would have unicorns, but there turns out to be the most dangerous creatures of all.
So we do get to see Constantine pull the seance, and he uses Mick, who just sits there and he's looking at some magazine up in the attic, and he just uses that while he's just sitting there distracted by this magazine just to draw all the mystical symbols around
But doesn't that feel right?
It does.
It doesn't. I mean, that was fine with me. And also, we get to see Rory like become like the other character. I kind of liked it.
Do you think he really? I mean, Dominic Purcell, he's always fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't think he really embodied. I mean, well, it's not because I think like Tom Wilson has such a great physicality.
I saw it in the eyes, man. I saw it in the eyes.
If he'd somebody that had like a really recognizable kind of expressions or gestures, but I never saw any of that when
he did his voice really well, though. His voice was spot on. It sounded just like him.
Did you want that, or did you? Or do you wanted him, at least Dominic, to like alter his voice enough where it felt like, oh, he's trying to talk like Tom Wilson?
Oh, I didn't care, man. It was fine. I would rather have a Ghost Hank because I think Ghost Hank is more fun.
I don't know why they didn't go that route. Or
Well,
at
it's
least
because they wanted everyone to have a role.
I think Dominic would have been fine. Just you could have had at least Ghost Hank kind of hovering around him.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he got very Ghostbusters with it as soon as like Ghost Hank showed up or something.
But it does bring us down to the end of the episode where Constantine is just sitting up in that attic, just boozing away.
People are very mad at you, Frank.
For what? Well,
You're just grumpy.
I am grumpy, but come on, guys. I mean, he was gonna.
I say that, but it's just one person.
He made a video where he was gonna. he was like, "Hey, I'm a drawing that my son made, and I'm gonna do this."
It's okay, Frank.
I'm legitimately running a government organization, but only for the purpose of trying to build a ridiculous theme park to make my son's vision of the world come true.
Yeah. It's okay,
right.
Frank. I
Sure.
still like you.
Can you imagine like the Senate hearings that would be involved with that? Like, what were you doing with using the government's time and money?
Don't think about Senate hearings, man. It's a fun show.
We got to think about the real world.
Just go with the silly show.
So we have that happening at the end. We get to see Constantine come mirror to face with Desmond, who then says, "Hey, you know who I really am." And he shows that beehive face.
That beehive face. Oh, neuron.
Yes. So great.
Yeah, now they know.
Bad
guys closing in.
I guess. I really do feel like the lack of urgency in this season. I mean, I always felt like even season 2 and even season 3, you were feeling the urgency ramp up.
I think there's cool episodes that are popping up, and I feel like next week is going to be a good one.
It should be a nice, definitely a nice change of pace episode.
From the next week on, looks pretty good.
But it feels like even with these, I mean, I like the idea, like the premise of the season is we have to hunt these mystical creatures, return them back to hell or wherever they're imprisoned. We got to just get them out from ruining time. But you feel like the urgency would kind of ramp up. And so it's like, guys, this is getting bonkers and crazier, and things are, and that's not happening at all this season.
By the way, can you imagine buying a shirt that just said Emma on it? It meant like at one point in that timeline, she bought a shirt that just said Emma just right on her belly.
Do you think Hank Haywood envisioned himself as like a modern day Walt Disney? Where
yes,
that's
exactly what you didn't realize that.
So
how more explicit could they do?
But do you just see him right there? He would build a little statue of himself holding like a young Kopei.
Yeah,
right there, man. Just kind of pointing off.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That's exactly. He wanted to be Disney. He wanted to be Walt Disney.
Oh boy, oh baby, oh baby. All right. Don't forget, it all started with a Kopei.
It all started with a Kopei and a dream.
So we get back into the Jane Austen time here, and we do get to see that our boy, the Hindu guide, has said like, hey, Zara, you gotta feel stuff. You can't be so closed off. You gotta feel love and feel all these possibilities in life.
Yeah,
expose yourself to it. And so she mainlines it. She gets involved. She does her singing and dancing, and she's like, hey, you know what? Let's get married. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And it's up to Mona to kind of rein her in.
Yeah.
Sidebar on Mona. Man, that transformation still is just not
I
great.
have to admit, I really think they should have skipped seeing the transformation this time. Backwards and forwards.
Yes.
It was a little bit of an odd choice. I feel like they could have had a lot more fun hiding that shark this time around.
Yeah.
Which is, well, okay. And then she confronts Jane Austen. That's how Jane Austen became a horror writer.
Yes.
And she started writing horror right after that.
That's right. I've seen this wolf woman just totally transform and revert back in front of her. I mean, the overall idea that with Jane Austen, where everything gets accelerated, like societal norms get changed and challenged, and much sooner than they would in our time. It takes somebody like Jane Austen, who is a great commentator of social norms and societal norms. And all of a sudden you remove that, and she's like, well, what do I have to say anymore?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That was a good point. And as soon as you made everyone like saying what they're feeling, it's the drama's gone. Mm-hmm. Which is ironic, because that's the problem with this episode too, is because everyone just said what they were feeling, and all the subtext became text. But just it's mostly that Mona versus Zari scene, it felt like if they were under the influence of something that was making them be a bit too honest to one another, like the honesty bug from the last one, but I didn't feel like they really were under the influence that time, and they just felt like they were mean to one another. Like, you don't say to someone who's mourning the loss of a loved one, romance doesn't exist. Like, there's just no reason to say that. You would believe it, but you wouldn't say it out loud. So you would just be like, I know you're going through a hard time, and I understand where you're coming from. It's just not for me. You know, something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But Mona was able to talk some sense into her long enough to realize, like, whoa, wait, I'd end up being your 1,001st wife? Forget this. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I like that the Hindu guy, he pretty much, he puts no fight up at the end. We had Charlie and Sarah kind of escorting him off. He's just like, yeah, well, all right.
Yeah, I mean,
what are you gonna do?
he's living a charmed life.
Yeah.
a thousand wives. You know.
Yeah. But for I mean, because if you take away that the amulet or whatever that he's using, he's pretty much just.
Well, he has been mainlining a god for 1,000 years.
I guess so.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he has some residual effects from that.
Folks, as we're getting ready to wrap up, though, I guess we probably should do some predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Well, we're gonna have some Ava. Still going.
Yeah.
Ava Lance coming back.
That's true, and a nice kind of like spending a night in IKEA, and you can't escape.
Yeah, I think this looks like a good episode. This reminds me of the episodes they've done before, like the ones that are kind of bottle episodes ish, where they focus on one kind of quirk, like living the same groundhogging over and over again that Zari did, or the Constantine episode where they kept changing time and then having to redo it. I think it feels like another episode like that, except they're focusing on her purgatory somehow, and she's stuck in a place that they're trying to get her out of.
You know, it's like, I guess they only have like 5 episodes left this season, and
Yeah.
I have to admit, I'm of two minds. Like, one, I'm not feeling like, oh man, are they going to be able to wrap this up in time? Because I also feel like they
All
really
they have to do is kill Neuron,
Yeah.
and they're just going to confront Neuron. For me, it's not about the season arc this time around. I'm looking for the gems of an episode. So I'm really happy that they're doing this. I feel like this is going to be like a little nummy num.
Oh.
I want a little nummy num 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 num. A nice little like treat. I want a nice little treat.
Ooh.
And this episode was a treat for the right person, and I feel like next week's might be my treat.
Oh, so everybody in the chat a week too early.
Yeah, who knows?
Yes. All right, so Dave Child, as our resident love guru,
Yes, of course.
with 5 episodes left, when do you think that Nate and Zari will share their first kiss?
It's a good question. It's not going to be next episode. Next episode's all going to be Avalanche. But I think... Avalanche. But I think after that, it's going to be... 5 episodes left?
There's 5 episodes.
I think it might be either in 2 or 3 more episodes. I think maybe 3.
All right.
I don't think it's going to wait until the end of the season. I think they're gonna come together, but then it's gonna be a threat.
I like where you're going there, Dave.
Yeah.
I would go with the 3 episode prediction myself.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it once again. I mean, I know you thought it was impossible. Like, how can they keep delivering you
We did it.
this high quality content every single week?
Oh,
yet
and you love it every single time.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for the Legends of Tomorrow After Show. As always, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you everybody for hopping in the chat. I know Dave Childs enjoy reading all your thoughts. He's probably going to read them back when he gets at home. The nice warm glass of milk.
I'm gonna get into a bath.
Oh, look
and
at
just
that.
think about it.
All right, that sounds like a treat for everybody. And if you want to stay in touch with any of us even after the show's over, Dave Child, where do they find you?
Oh, you can find me at MrDaveChild on the Twitter and the Instagram and DaveChild.com. And tomorrow, I think we'll be posting a brand new Liquid Feet dance. So
Yes.
follow me on the Twitter to see it. It'll be a pretty one. I like how it's shot. So see me dance tomorrow.
Dave,
Yes, friend. Where can
I
people
love
find
you.
you?
I love you, Dave.
That's nice.
Find me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Folks, it's going to do it for this episode of the Legends of... See, I'm so heartbroken. Of the Legends of Tomorrow After Show. We're going to be back here next Monday night with an all-new episode right here on AfterBuzz TV.
Thanks for watching. I love you.
I love you.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.